I've served in a dozen battles, confronted threats that never made the news, and lost track of the number of times I came close to dying. But as I sit here, huddled in an office that was once part of Fort Solace's administrative wing, I can't help thinking all those past horrors were just rehearsals for this moment. The real nightmare wasn't in foreign deserts or jungles. It was hidden right here in Nevada. It was waiting for me all along. I'm Major Jack Calloway, 42 years old, a soldier who's seen too many years of war. After a classified mission in Eastern Europe went sideways, I lost my entire squad. They vanished, leaving me the sole survivor and a scapegoat, if we're being honest. The higher-ups decided I was too valuable, so I got reassigned, which is a fancy way of saying exiled to a hush-hush facility. Fort Solace is all chain-link fences, armed sentries, and squat concrete buildings that blend into the dusty horizon. It's where the military supposedly studies psychological warfare. Translation, they poke around in people's heads until something breaks. Then they see if they can weaponize the debris. My role here is interrogations, getting intel out of war criminals, enemy combatants, or whoever ends up strapped to our chairs. For 2 years now, I've done it, day in and day out. It's a grim job, but it keeps me busy. And whenever I feel guilt or weariness creeping in, I replay a voicemail on my phone. My wife's gentle voice saying, "We love you, Jack. Come home safe." Still, in the last week or so, rumors circled about a leak in one of the labs. A Horizon mishap, the whispers said. I didn't know details, only that a few personnel complained of sudden fevers, delusions, or worse. Higher-ups tried to keep it quiet. But this Wednesday, as I step into the interrogation wing, I sense that something big is coming. It's as if the entire facility is holding its breath, waiting for the spark that'll send everything into chaos. On that day, an unusual smell of antiseptic hits me as I pass lab techs in white coats, pushing carts of equipment. They avert their eyes. Nobody's smiling, and nobody is making small talk. I see Sergeant Owen Jones waiting for me near the door with arms folded. Jones is my friend, or as close to a friend as one can have in this place. Tall and lean, with cropped dark hair and watchful eyes, we served together stateside for a stint after my European disaster. He's always had my back. "Jack," he says quietly, "they're bringing him now." "Who are they bringing in?" He glances over his shoulder. "Colonel Victor Strand." I stop dead. "You're kidding." Strand is a legend, and not the good kind. A former special ops officer who went rogue. Rumors say he led massacres, sold secrets to enemies, maybe even personally carried out atrocities that no one wants to list on the official records. If he's here, something serious is going down. Jones gives me a grim nod. A month ago, they caught him in Turkmenistan. He's been in black site custody ever since. HQ wants the truth about his allies. They think you can get him to talk. I feel a jolt of nerves, but I bury it. So I'm interrogating Victor Strand. Great. As the door to the interrogation room slides open with a hiss. Inside, 2 armed guards flank a tall, gaunt man in a torn uniform. Colonel Strand has white hair, hollow cheeks, and eyes that look like they've seen every horror on Earth, and maybe liked it. A pair of lab techs enter, carrying a steel case labeled Horizon. So this is the new miracle truth serum, the one cooked up by military scientists in some underground lab where ethics go to die. Strand doesn't even flinch at the sight of it. After all, the man has faced firing squads, torture rooms, betrayals. What's one more dose of military experimentation? The tech holds up the Horizon-filled syringe, waiting for my cue. Ready. Let's see if the legends are true. As they inject Strand. At first, he trembles, jaw clenching, eyes rolling back. Then he snaps his gaze to me. A sudden, intense focus. "So you are Jack Calloway," Strand says. "The soldier who never should have come home." I reply, "Strand, let's start with your last known operation." But he interrupts with a soft laugh. "We're past that, Major. We're past everything. Do you really want the truth? Horizon is going to rip it from my mind. But remember, it will demand yours too. I know about your family, about your son Tommy, about Allison. Do you think they're safe? Anger flares in me. Shut up and focus on your own brutal crimes. But Strand only leans forward, ignoring the guards who try to restrain him. This place, Fort Solace, is the real crime, Jack. You'll see soon enough. Then, without warning, he vomits blood onto the table. The lab techs scramble as Strand grips the edges of his chair, eyes rolling back, letting out a sound like a dull roar. Suddenly, over the PA system, a monotone voice crackles. Emergency alert. Unknown pathogen detected. All personnel initiate lockdown. Strand locks eyes with me, blood dribbling down his chin. They'll come for you now, he rasps. For all of us. Before I can process Strand's words, the door bursts open and a young corporal stumbles in, panting. Major, something is happening in the labs. Some of those who were exposed last week, they're turning. The corporal points down the corridor. There I saw lab techs and soldiers scrambling away from a figure moving in an odd, jerky motion. It's a uniformed private, but his face is deathly pale. I remember seeing him a couple days ago, complaining of headaches after a lab accident. He staggers a step, then lunges at a fleeing scientist, biting viciously into her shoulder. She screams, blood spattering across the wall. My instincts kick in. Jones quickly fires a burst from his rifle. 3 rounds punch into the private's chest, but he doesn't go down. Instead, he pivots, inhumanly fast, and charges us. I take aim and fire one more shot, aiming for the head. This time, the private collapses to the ground, twitching. Everyone stands there, stunned. The scientist he bit is sobbing, clutching her gashed shoulder, while another soldier kneels to help her, checking the wound. Look at her veins. I see it too. Veins around the bite site turning purple, branching across her pale skin like spiderwebs. We're seeing it happen. A transformation from living, breathing woman to mindless, predatory husk. Stop her, but we're too slow. She lunges at the soldier kneeling beside her, hands grabbing, teeth snapping. I fire. The bullet hits her shoulder, so I angle for a clearer shot. One headshot later, and she too collapses, silent. I glance back at the interrogation room, my heart pounding. Colonel Strand. He was the first to show symptoms, vomiting blood. Was he patient 0? Did the Horizon injection trigger some monstrous chain reaction? Then the overhead intercom crackles, a ragged robotic voice. All personnel, code black. Unknown infection spreading through the lab wings and barracks. Quarantine protocols in effect. Quarantine. Great. That means sealed doors, locked gates, lethal force authorized to contain the spread. I grit my teeth. We need to regroup. Find out how widespread this is. Jones nods. What about Strand? He might know what's going on. I turn back, but the interrogation room is empty. The armed guards on the floor, throats torn out. And worst of all, Strand was gone. Out in the base's corridors, people run in all directions. Some infected and some still sane and terrified. A pair of scientists sprint past, one shouting over his shoulder. They're turning into some kind of hive mind. Maybe this infection is more than just reanimated corpses. After reaching an intersection, on the left we see a corridor leading to the research labs, the epicenter of the outbreak, and on the right, a heavy blast door blocks the route to the command center. It's sealed by a red-lit keypad, likely locked down until the infection is contained. Jones checks the keypad. No good. We need a command-level clearance to override. My jaw tightens. Colonel Finch might have it. Or Colonel Strand, if he's still considered active clearance. But Finch runs day-to-day ops. Let's try to find him. Stepping over bodies everywhere, we hurry toward Finch's office. At the next junction, we find Lieutenant Miller, one of the watch officers, pinned under a toppled metal cabinet. Her leg is twisted at a hideous angle. She waves us over, sobbing. Please, help me. Jones and I shove the cabinet aside. She points behind her, eyes wide. They're talking in unison, repeating things about memories and truth. Miller clings to my arm. We have to get out of here. The base is sealed. No one can leave until the outbreak is contained. But that thing can't be contained. I exchange a grim look with Jones. Do you know where Colonel Finch is? Finch might have retreated to the lower level bunkers. We help her limp along, hearing gunshots behind us. At the next corridor, infected shapes shuffle in the gloom. I spot 3 soldiers, eyes glazed with that milky film, purple veins crawling across their faces. They jerk their heads simultaneously and look at us. In unison, they say, "We see you, Major Calloway," as we sprint for the far door. Miller tries, but her mangled leg won't cooperate. With the infected soldiers inching closer, I turn around, firing. One round nicks one zombie's shoulder, but he keeps coming. Clearly, a headshot is the only way. Miller cries out, collapsing against the wall. She's in no shape to fight or run. She shakes her head. "Leave me, please. If I slow you down, we'll all die." She manages a trembling smile. "Get Finch, or get out." "That's an order, Major." Miller then raises her sidearm, turning it on the corridor. I won't go quietly. After grasping her hand briefly, Jones and I back away, leaving her to face the infected alone. We hear Miller firing, screaming defiance. Then suddenly everything goes silent. Filled with guilt from leaving Miller, we slip into a side corridor that leads toward the deeper sections of the base. Storage rooms, old maintenance tunnels. "Jones," I murmur, glancing over my shoulder. "Are you holding up?" He nods, eyes distant. "Yeah, just thinking." Pushing on, my mind churns with memories of the last time I saw something this horrific. My lost squad in Eastern Europe. The nightmares I've had since. The worst part is the creeping doubt that Strand's words stirred in me. Why do these infected already know my name and my family? Desperately looking for Colonel Finch, we arrive at a record storage door, half open. The emergency lights reveal row after row of file cabinets and computer terminals. Maybe we can find something here, personnel rosters or Finch's personal directives that say where he might hide in a crisis. If we can guess his location, we might retrieve his clearance codes. Then I spot a locked safe built into the wall. Perfect. After a few minutes of fiddling with the safe's combination dial, it clicks open, revealing a stack of sealed files labeled Project Revenant, Horizon Phase 2, and my name, Jack Calloway. Trembling, I open the folder. Inside are typed pages, medical charts, and photographs. They detail an experiment that started 2 years ago, the same time I arrived at Fort Solace, with references of reality anchors, implanted familial attachments, and sustained illusions to maintain soldier functionality. I skim a paragraph. Subject underwent repeated memory conditioning to establish a stable support framework. Wife and child are anchor illusions introduced post-European incident. Purpose, sustain mental resilience under extreme stress. I read it again, disbelieving. The file claims my wife and son are fabrications the army implanted in my mind, like a comforting dream to keep me from fracturing. Refusing to even consider that possibility, I slam the folder shut, mind spinning. Jones looks over. "Did you find something?" Before I can dwell on it, a crash resounds from the corridor. We spin, weapons ready, as a group of infected burst into the storage room. They move with disturbing coordination, fanning out to flank us. One, a female researcher with half her face peeled away, addresses me in a gurgling voice. "Did you read the files, Jack? Now you know." Jones fires a burst, forcing me to snap out of it. I join in, aiming for their heads. I catch a glimpse of the infected, forming a tight formation, like a tactical squad. Bang, bang, bang. We scramble back as we kill zombie after zombie, tripping over file cabinets. But more of them kept coming in. "The door," Jones barks, pointing to a side exit. We run for it, slamming it behind us. With no time to rest, we dash down a pitch-black hallway. My mind races, the folder's contents replaying in my head. Could this all be true? Is my family a lie? But with the base in chaos, I can't afford to process the betrayal. There's a very real, very lethal threat that's about to get worse if we don't find Finch, or some way out. After winding through claustrophobic corridors, we find ourselves near the armory, a heavily reinforced room containing advanced weaponry. If we're going to stand a chance against these hive-infected soldiers, we need better firepower. Jones and I slip inside, scanning for threats. Then, in the shadows, we see a figure slumped against a crate. It was Private Alex Herrera, a young soldier I recognized from guard duty. He looks up, eyes bloodshot but not milky. "Major, sir," he rasps. I'm not infected." I exhale relief. "Herrera, can you move?" He tries to stand, wincing. "Yes, sir." The infection spread so fast. I got cornered in here. We're regrouping to find Colonel Finch or a safe escape route. Are you with us? He nods eagerly. "Yes, sir." We gear up quickly, each grabbing fresh rifles, sidearms, more ammo. Jones finds a crate of incendiary grenades. "Might come in handy," he mutters. While Herrera double-checks his pistol's action, Jones steps aside. It's subtle, but I realize he's not actually picking up anything. He gestures as if reloading a rifle, but there's no magazine in his hand. A weird disconnect hits me, like a glitch in my perception. Did Jones actually grab ammo? Or is he pretending? I push the thought aside. Adrenaline can cause the mind to see things, and we have much bigger issues. We're about to head out when a loud clang resounds. In the flashes, I see a shape on the ceiling, an infected soldier perched there like a spider with purple veins bulging on his neck. "Look out," I shout, but I was too slow. The infected soldier drops onto Herrera, smashing him to the ground. Herrera yells, struggling, as the infected tries to bite his face. I quickly jam my rifle barrel under its chin and pull the trigger. Crack. The creature goes limp, slumping onto Herrera in a mess of blood and bone. Herrera shoves the body off, breathing hard. "God," he spits, wiping blood from his cheek. That thing was on the ceiling. I glance up, seeing deep claw marks raked across the metal overhead. Herrera looks down at his chest, sees a long scratch across his collarbone, courtesy of the infected's nails. The scratch is shallow, not a full bite, but I see fear in his eyes. "Sir, am I don't know. We've seen infected transformations from bites. But maybe a scratch can spread it too. The question, how quickly?" I hesitate. "Let's keep moving, see if we can find medical supplies. Maybe you'll be okay." We force ourselves out of the armory, wading into the darkness and sirens once more. The overhead intercom crackles with that same robotic monotone, but now it's changing. "All personnel, we are one. We see your secrets." A cold sweat breaks over me. It's not just an automated alert. It's the hive speaking through the PA system, hijacking the base's communication. They're calling to us, letting us know they're more than just mindless zombies. And apparently we are on the menu. According to base schematics, Colonel Finch has a private bunker in the sub-level, a maze of tunnels and sealed rooms beneath the main complex. If he's still alive, that's where he'd be holed up. Hoping to find the private bunker, we head for the nearest stairwell, passing through corridors strewn with bullet casings and bodies. Herrera struggles to keep pace, wincing occasionally. I notice purple veins creeping along his neck. If he turns, we'll have no choice but to know. Focus. We need every ally we can get. We reach the stairwell door. It's been barricaded from the inside, a metal bar jammed across it. Jones shoulders it, but it won't budge. Herrera and I join, pushing with everything we've got. Finally, the bar snaps, and the door creaks open, revealing pitch-black stairs descending into the sub-level. The stench of mildew and stale air hits me. "Flashlights," I whisper. We flick them on, the beams cutting through the dark. The steps lead down, deeper and deeper, the walls damp with condensation. An old sign reads, Sub-Level C. Storage, Biosafety, Research Annex. Great. More research labs. That means more infected. We move cautiously, footsteps echoing. But partway down, Herrera stops, leaning on the handrail. His breathing is irregular, his veins looking darker, creeping across his shoulder. He looks up at me, voice trembling. "Major, I can feel it in my head. It's like voices. An icy lump forms in my gut. If he loses control, the hive will know exactly where we are." He extends his sidearm to me. "I won't be any good in a fight soon. Just take this. Use it on me when I stop being myself." I stare at the gun, then at him. He's younger than me by a good 15 years, tears glistening in his eyes. "Herrera." He presses the gun into my hand. "Promise me." I clench my jaw. "We'll find medical help, soldier. You have my word." A half-truth. After reaching the bottom of the stairwell, we see a sign pointing left for the bunker entrance. But the corridor is half flooded with murky water from the old pipes. Overhead, an exposed cable crackles with electricity. One misstep and we might fry ourselves. Then we see lightning-fast movement on our right. A door bursts open, water spraying. An infected scientist stumbles out, half submerged, face twisted in rage. I spot a second zombie behind him, moaning in unison. "Come to us, Jack. Join us." They lunge, and Jones fires. Herrera staggers, trying to raise his rifle. I see the veins bulging in his neck, and he hisses, pain etched on his features. My flashlight beam wavers as I jam my pistol into the first infected's temple. One shot later, he drops. Jones incapacitates the other with a precise headshot. Then the overhead lights pop, plunging us into near darkness. A faint red glow remains from emergency strips along the floor. I catch a glimpse of Herrera swaying. "Jack," he murmurs, using my first name for the first time. "Don't let them have me." My chest feels tight. We both know how this will end. We press on, eventually finding a sealed blast door. Painted above it are the words, "Bunker access, authorized personnel only." The control panel is lit by a dying emergency light. I try my key card, denied. Herrera sags against the wall, panting. "Finch has a personal override code," he says thickly. "That's the only way in." I curse under my breath. So Finch must be inside. Then, as if he heard us, the intercom next to the door crackles, with a voice I recognize, Colonel Finch. "Who's out there?" he asks. I mash the intercom button. "Major Jack Calloway, sir. We're here to help contain the infection." A pause. Then Finch says, "Containment is no longer feasible. The entire base is lost." "Are you infected?" I glance at Herrera while Jones stares at me. I press the button. "No. We need your clearance to shut down external communications and prevent further spread." Another pause. "Stand by." The heavy door slides open, just a little. Finch peers out, sidearm in hand. He's an older man, hair matted with sweat, uniform disheveled. His eyes dart among the three of us, lingering on Herrera's purple-veined neck. "He's infected," Finch snaps. "No chance in hell I let him in." Herrera lifts his chin, defiant. "Sir, I can still..." Finch aims his pistol at him. "Back away, soldier." I step between them. "Colonel, if we want to stop this hive from reaching outside, we need your command codes, now." Finch glares, lowering his weapon slightly. "I have a plan to blow the main labs with high explosives. That should incinerate most of the infected. Then we'll scuttle the entire base if we must." He beckons Jones and me inside. "Not him," he growls, pointing to Herrera. Herrera's gaze flicks to me, eyes watery. I'll stay here, Major. Maybe I can buy you time if they come." My throat aches. "Herrera, I'll come back for you." He waves me off. We both know that won't happen. Feeling hopeless, I give Herrera a slow nod, then slip through the door with Jones. Finch seals it, leaving the young soldier alone in the dark corridor. Inside the bunker, the lights reveal a cramped control center with monitors showing security feeds from around the base. On one screen, I see Herrera outside the blast door, leaning against the wall, trembling. Another screen shows infected squads roaming the corridors, some of them crawling on ceilings, others standing eerily still, as if listening for prey. Finch sets his pistol on a console, ignoring Jones completely. He faces me, looking concerned. "What's your status, Major? You said you're not infected. Good. Because we've got little time." I give him a curt nod. "We found Colonel Strand. I think he triggered this. Where is he now?" Finch's expression darkens. "Strand vanished. We suspect he's not purely infected, but something else. The lab results showed he's a vector for the Horizon pathogen, but unaffected by its controlling aspects. So he is both the walking embodiment of the virus and also immune." Finch sighs. "Something like that. Listen, there's a self-destruct for the entire base, nuclear level meltdown, but it's locked behind multiple layers of authorization." I meet his gaze. "So you want me to help you blow this place sky high?" Finch nods. "It's either that or risk the entire region. The infection is bigger than you realize. They can talk, share knowledge. They know every protocol we have. They're intercepting our comms. Once they override external communications, they could spread the pathogen beyond these walls. I think of the files labeled Jack Calloway and Horizon Phase 2, the monstrous possibility that I'm part of this twisted experiment. Let's do it then," I say coldly. "Tell me what to do." Finch steps to a console, flipping switches. "I've set charges in the main labs. We'll have to arm them manually from the central console in the command center upstairs. Then we'll trigger the meltdown from here. Upstairs, where the hive roams. Wonderful. We'll never survive that," Jones says quietly. Finch scoffs. "We have no choice. If you want to save what's left of this country, you'll do it. Or you can stay here and wait to die." I look at Jones, seeing tension etched on his face. Oddly, Finch hasn't so much as glanced at him, like Jones is invisible. "Fine," I snap. "Open the door. Let's blow those labs." We suit up with Finch's leftover gear, extra ammo and a battered bulletproof vest. Finch hands me a remote detonator for the lab charges. "These frequencies are short range. You'll have to be near the labs to arm them. Then get back here before the meltdown countdown hits 0. "Great," I say dryly. Finch taps the bunker door keypad, which slides open with a groan. We step into the corridor. Herrera is gone. The security feed inside showed him slumped in the corner just minutes ago, but now the spot is empty. Only a smear of blood on the wall. I flick my flashlight around. No sign of him, just dripping water and darkness. Then a voice echoes from the gloom. "Major, Jack, help!" Herrera, but his tone is distorted, watery. Jones readies his shotgun and Finch hisses, "Stay alert." We move slowly through the corridor, adrenaline spiking. I sense a flicker of movement behind a half-submerged door. I inch closer, heart pounding. Suddenly, the door splinters, and a figure lunges out. It's Herrera, or what's left of him. Purple veins spiderweb across his face, eyes milky white. He staggers, then looks directly at me, lips moving in a twisted grin. "Jack, I can see your secrets." "Let me show you," Finch curses, raising his pistol. "That's an infected." "Stand back, Major." But I hesitate. Some part of me hopes Herrera might still be in there, fighting. His lips curl, baring bloody teeth. Then he lunges. Finch fires, but Herrera dodges with unnatural speed, zeroing in on me. Jones tries a shotgun blast, but Herrera weirdly shrugs it off like nothing. Herrera grabs my vest, forcing me down into the murky water. We crash together, my sidearm skittering away. Water floods my mouth, and he's pressing me under, hissing something about seeing my memories. I choke, grappling for my knife. He moves like he's guided by an entire army's training. Then, in a flash, Finch's muzzle blasts a bullet into Herrera's skull. The infected soldier jerks, releasing me. As Herrera then collapses, floating face down, I scramble back, coughing, water dripping from my face. Another lost comrade. Another horrifying transformation. Finch helps me stand. "He was gone the moment he got scratched, Calloway. Don't dwell on it." I glare at him, but we push onward, forging back upstairs. The corridor twists, leading to a service elevator that might take us near the command center. We pry open the elevator doors. The interior is dark, the power failing. Finch points to the ladder on the side. Now we climb back up. One by one, we ascend. Finch goes first, then me, then Jones. My arms burn as I climb rung after rung. Halfway up, the elevator shaft rumbles, cables shifting above us. I look up just in time to see a flickering flashlight beam. Infected climbing down from above, moaning in unison. They cling to the walls like spiders, an impossible number of them, eyes glinting in the dark. Finch curses. Climb faster. Shots echo as the zombies scuttle closer. I climb down a few rungs, jamming my pistol into one of their heads. A single shot sends it plummeting to the shaft floor. The others hiss collectively, continuing their descent. Finch shouts from above, "We're at the top now. Move fast." I scramble after him, Jones right behind. We haul ourselves onto a small maintenance platform near the top of the elevator shaft. The infected aren't far behind, their moans echoing. Finch slams the metal hatch closed, throwing a lever that locks it. For now, we have a temporary barrier. Panting, we move into a cramped corridor leading away from the elevator. The overhead sign reads, "Command Center, 100 meters." We hurry on, but I'm deep in thought. The hive is growing, unstoppable. They climb walls, hide in the dark, and keep using tactics no mindless zombie could. And they whisper my name, referencing secrets they shouldn't know. The files. My wife and child. If that's true, then who the hell am I fighting for? But I push the suspicions away. If I let doubt consume me, the infection wins. As we turn a corner through the half-open door ahead, I see the command center. Walls lined with flickering monitors, a main console. Colonel Strand is there, standing calmly, back turned to us. He's wearing a half-shredded uniform, but no sign of the purple vein infection. My heart hammering, I glance at Finch. He nods, and together we push the door open. Colonel Strand doesn't move as we enter. The carnage inside was horrifying. Bodies of officers, some of them half-eaten, others with bullet wounds. Blood pools across the floor. The stench is nauseating. Jones, shotgun in hand, flanks the left. Finch aims a pistol from the right, and I'm in the middle, leveling my rifle at Strand's back. "Turn around," I bark. He does, slowly, his eyes locking on mine. There's no milky film, no purple veins. A faint smile twists his lips. "Major Calloway, we meet again." Finch spits. "Strand, you're under orders to surrender. This whole base is compromised because of you." Strand raises an eyebrow. "Is that so? I believe you and your superiors compromised this base long ago with your twisted experiments." I see Finch's face go red. "Shut your mouth." Strand ignores him, turning his head to me instead. "And you, Jack. You've learned some truths, haven't you? About your family, about the real reason you're in here." A wave of anger pulses through me. I don't know what to believe, but I do know you caused this outbreak. He sighs, almost sadly. "I'm just the catalyst, Major. The army put us all on this path." He gestures to the monitors showing multiple angles of the infected roaming the base. "They're not just monsters, they're a new collective mind. Horizon opened the door, yes, but the real question is, why did the army want to create a weapon that merges consciousness?" My thoughts flash to the Project Revenant file. To gather intel, to break enemies by accessing their every secret, I say. "Exactly," Strand murmurs. "Think how unstoppable that could be. Turn your enemy into part of your own hive. Or in your case, keep a soldier fighting by giving him illusions of a life worth returning to." I can't stop my voice from trembling. "Shut up. Face it," he says, stepping closer. Allison and Tommy were implants, courtesy of Fort Solace's cutting-edge psychology department. They needed you stable enough to handle black ops, but traumatized enough to make you malleable. Finch snaps, "Strand, we have no time for your conspiracies." He flicks a switch on the console, tapping in codes. That's the final arming sequence for the lab charges. One push of the button, and we can blow the entire research wing to Kingdom Come. Strand's gaze flickers to Finch. You honestly think a few bombs will stop them? They're too well linked, Colonel. The moment you set off an explosion in the labs, the hive will spread somewhere else. My rifle stays trained on Strand. We have no choice. We can't let them out. He sighs again, as though disappointed. Then, in a blur, he lunges for the console. Finch tries to shoot, but Strand knocks the pistol aside with frightening speed. I take aim, but Strand grips Finch, using him as a human shield. Finch struggles, face contorted. Let go! Strand's eyes flash with something strange. Sorry, Colonel, he whispers. It's time for you to join the hive. He slams Finch's face into the console, shattering glass. Finch collapses, blood streaming from his scalp. Damn you! I roar, firing. Strand twists, letting Finch's body drop as the bullet only grazes his shoulder. He barely flinches. I try for a close-range shot, but Strand deflects my rifle with an elbow strike that leaves my arms numb. In the chaos, Finch moans, reaching for the override button, but Strand stomps on his hand, a sickening crack. Then Strand does the unthinkable. He grabs Finch's sidearm from the floor and aims at the overhead monitors. The entire command console fizzles. The meltdown system, the one Finch told us about, could be compromised. Strand spins, pointing Finch's gun at me. If you blow this place, the army will bury the truth, Jack. Is that what you want? I grit my teeth, sweat pouring down my face. The truth is killing innocent people. He laughs darkly. Nothing about Fort Solace is innocent. Behind him, Finch claws at the console, trying to press any button that might activate the charges. But Strand notices, delivering a vicious kick to Finch's head. The colonel slumps, unconscious or worse. Finally, Strand levels the gun at Finch's skull. The army made me this. They made you a liar to yourself. They made these poor souls into a hive. But you always have a choice. If you want, you can walk away, let the hive grow, let the truth come out, or keep fighting and let the government spin more lies. He extends his free hand as if in invitation. Join me and you'll see how deep this goes. We can stop the army from using Horizon again, but you have to let go of the illusions they fed you. Let go of everything. I freeze, mind reeling. My rifle is near my feet, but if I move to grab it, Strand can shoot me first. Finch is presumably dying on the floor. The base is on the brink of total infection. No, I manage, voice shaking. I can't let them out. I refuse. Strand's face hardens. Then you're no better than the ones who lied to you. In that moment, Finch let out an ear-splitting groan, distracting Strand for a split second. Seeing a miraculous opening, I dive for my rifle, roll, and come up firing. Bang, bang, bang. I could hardly believe it. As 3 rounds punch straight into Strand's chest, he collapses against the console, slides down, eyes wide. For a moment, he just stares at me. Then his face twists into a final bitter smile. You'll never be free, he breathes, voice fading. Then, with a last sigh, Colonel Victor Strand dies. An electric hush falls over the command center, punctuated only by our tortured breathing. Jones leans against a wall, battered but upright. Finch lies on the floor, half-conscious, blood pooling. I push Strand's corpse aside, stepping to Finch. He blinks up at me, a dazed expression. His bullet, I can't feel my legs. Colonel, I say, voice low, we have to blow the labs or the entire base. Show me how to trigger the meltdown. He coughs weakly. Strand destroyed half the console. We can't melt down from here. The circuit's gone. He closes his eyes, tears mixing with the blood on his cheeks. There's a manual override station in the labs themselves. If you can set those charges physically and prime the meltdown, it'll blow everything. Perfect. I grit my teeth. Fine. Jones and I will do it. Finch frowns. Jones. What the hell? Something flickers across Finch's features. Was it recognition or maybe fear? He tries to speak but coughs, blood dribbling. Then he sags, going still. Jones steps over, checking Finch's pulse. He shakes his head. Finch is gone. And with that, we were alone in a base full of zombies. The monitors remain partially operational, revealing images of the labs. Scores of infected. Dozens, maybe hundreds, milling around. All with that same eerie synchronization. Jones tries tapping the console. Security cameras in lab number 1 are still live. He mutters. There's a panel near the far wall that might be the meltdown override. We set it, we get out. Easier said than done, I reply, glancing at Strand's lifeless body. One last death mission then. Jones nods, eyes clouded. Let's go. After grabbing smoke grenades and a half-functional ballistic shield, we step back into the hallway. The corridor to the labs is a battlefield. We pick our way through debris, stepping over more bodies, more pools of blood. Halfway there, Jones falters, leaning against a wall. He presses a hand to his side, though there's no blood. A strange expression flickers on his face, like pain or confusion. Are you okay? I ask. He manages a nod. I'll be fine. Let's keep moving. We push on, turning a final corner. A thick door marked Research Lab number 1 stands cracked open. Jones and I exchange looks. I can almost feel his heart pounding in sync with mine. Here we go. The lab is cavernous, a high ceiling with bright lights, revealing rows of observation windows overlooking smaller chambers. Broken test tubes crunch under our boots. And the infected are everywhere. Dozens of them, some in lab coats, some in military fatigues, all moving with that uncanny unity. But as soon as we enter, they turn in unison. A chorus of moans echoes through the space, and then they speak, all at once. Welcome back, Major Calloway. Jones grips his shotgun. We can't fight this many of them. I nod, feeling sweat trickle down my neck. We find the meltdown override, set the charges, and run. But instead of attacking, the zombies step aside and part like a sea, revealing a path through the center of the lab. My stomach churns as I realize that they're letting us in. Were they taunting us? They mutter phrases that swirl through the lab. Come to us, Jack. We know everything. We can never truly die. With no other choice but to walk forward, we reach the lab's central console. A large metal panel filled with blinking lights. Attached is a separate device that looks like a big red switch under a safety cover. That must be the meltdown override. Jones keeps watch, eyes darting among the infected, who stand in a ring around us, drooling, moaning, but not attacking. I try not to let their presence rattle me as I open the console. Inside, a series of toggles labeled core vent, coolant disconnect, reactor override. I flip them in sequence, just like Finch described. Finally, I lift the cover on the red switch. All right, I mutter, tears stinging my eyes. The time has come. Once I pull this, we've got minutes, maybe less, before the entire base goes nuclear. I grab the switch. Then I yank it. Suddenly, an alarm blares, and the overhead lights turn from red to a blinding white strobe. The facility's meltdown countdown has started. Jones grabs my arm. Let's move. But the infected swarm in, blocking the path. The ring of bodies closes, arms outstretched. Their voices combine in a hideous whisper. Don't leave, Major. We have so much more to show you. I toss a smoke grenade, hoping to break their line, and for a moment they seemed disoriented. We dive through the smoke, shoving infected aside. They scratch and snarl as my rifle smashes into a pale face, and I hear a crunch. We manage to break through the mob, stumbling into an adjoining corridor thick with smoke. Jones leads, reloading on the run. My lungs burn as the meltdown alarm howls. Warning. Reactor core breach in T-7 minutes. 7 minutes to get out before we're vaporized. We race down the corridors, searching for any path leading up and out. The base shudders. Small explosions reverberate as systems fail. At one junction, we're forced to pry open a jammed door with a crowbar, precious seconds ticking away. Finally, we see a sign. Exit access, stairs. But as we enter, the entire platform collapses in front of us, weakened by earlier blasts. A chasm opens, maybe 20 feet across, revealing a lower level of raging fire. Damn it, I snarl, skidding to a halt. We can't jump that. After glancing around, Jones sees a damaged walkway overhead. We have to climb it. We find a pipe running along the wall, leading up to an unscathed section of the stairs. With the flames crackling below us, Jones goes first, while I'm following, arms burning as I scale the pipe. At the top, Jones hauls himself over. I'm slightly behind when he abruptly extends a hand to help me. But then, for a half second, I could swear that Jones's hands flickered, almost like static. "Jones?" I ask in a shaky voice. He doesn't respond, just stares at me. I grab Jones's arm and collapse onto the broken walkway, heart hammering. As the meltdown alarm booms, with only 3 minutes left, we dash up the remaining flight, emerging into a corridor that leads to the surface. The final exit door stands at the far end, battered but open. After all these hours in darkness, the sunlight spilling through looked surreal. Running out and slipping through a breach in the perimeter fence, we keep sprinting until we reach a small rocky outcrop. And just then, the final meltdown occurs. A massive explosion erupts in the heart of the base, a column of flame rising hundreds of feet, and a sonic shockwave ripping across the desert. We huddle down behind the biggest rock we can find, arms over our heads as sand and gravel rains down on us. When the dust settles, a flaming crater replaces most of Fort Solace. The meltdown did its job. Nothing there should be alive. My heart aches for all the lost soldiers, the innocent scientists, and the horrifying things they became. But at least we stopped the infection from spreading, or so I hoped. I glance at Jones, who stands a few steps away, back turned to me. He's staring at the horizon, shoulders stiff. "Jones," I say quietly, "we made it." He doesn't turn. Instead, he murmurs, "You always figure it out eventually, Jack." He sighs, then faces me. That I'm not real. My breath catches. The illusions in my file, my family, the possibility that Jones was never acknowledged by others. The security footage from earlier that showed me alone, fighting. The subtle glances from Finch. Jones is part of my mental conditioning. "Are you just a hallucination?" I whisper. "An anchor the army gave me." He gives a small nod. "A piece of your psyche, a coping mechanism. I kept you going, guided you through missions, made sure you never felt alone." My mind reels. "Why are you still here then?" He shrugs. "Maybe you still need me, or maybe you're strong enough to face it alone now. The meltdown may have destroyed the base, but you have to live with the truth they implanted." I feel tears pricking my eyes. Was anything real? Why did the infected never stop me? Are they still out there? He steps closer, raising a hand as if to comfort me. "I'm so sorry, brother." With too many questions and no answers, I close my eyes, letting the desert wind blow across my face. When I open them, Jones is gone, vanished, like a wisp of memory. My mind races with conflicting emotions. Grief, anger, betrayal, relief. The army used me. They made me an experiment, weaving illusions of a family, so I'd remain loyal and unstoppable. Then they orchestrated trials to test Horizon, culminating in the outbreak that nearly doomed us all. The meltdown might have saved the world from the hive, but it also destroyed all physical evidence of Project Revenant. The army could disavow everything, spin their own story. Strand was right about that. They'll bury the truth, possibly bury me too if they get the chance. So in the end, I do the only thing that feels right. I start walking, one foot in front of the other, away from the headlights. Behind me, Fort Solace smolders, reduced to rubble. Ahead, the unknown. A soldier with no illusions, forging a path that might finally be his own. I walk faster, ignoring the dryness in my throat, ignoring the ache in my bones. Because for the first time in years, the voice in my head is my own, unburdened by illusions. And that, I realize, is worth more than any fake homecoming ever could be. That's the end of this story. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing, as it would help me out more than you can imagine. Also, let me know if you would like more stories narrated with my own voice. I appreciate you, and I'll see you soon.